this review was also only one shot.
Yo, totally.
Go us.
Let's see if you guys can find the cut.
Yep, they're going to be really subtle. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
We just got out of 1917.
We haven't done one of these in a while.
No, we haven't. I've really been wanting to do this movie, but annoyingly, so New York got this movie last. January 10th, this movie came out. What's the date today?
The 13th.
The 13th. Everybody else got this movie. Some people got this movie in November.
Yeah.
So, did they?
Yeah, this came out in Thanksgiving over
I thought it was
over
Christmas.
there.
Oh, I was saying it was Christmas
And then-
limited here.
Where are you pointing?
To
Over
England.
there.
And even here, a bunch of them got it like way super early too. They're back in December, so it would qualify for the Academy Awards, which is really annoying if you're trying to do things like put together your best of the year list. And one of the best movies of the year hasn't even come out yet, because this movie is really fucking good. I had really high expectations for this because I think Sam Mendes is a really effective action director. He's got very good sense of like realness in what he does. And you don't get a World War I movie a whole lot unless it's like something for the History Channel.
Like us, at least nowadays, like in educationally, you don't really learn about World War One.
No, World War II gets all the
Yeah,
shine.
World War Two gets all of it.
It's even cooler not to just have a really great action director and a war that we don't see a lot of movies about, but this is a one-take war movie. That's insane. I think that's probably the best use of a one-take I've ever heard. So there was a lot leading up to this movie that had it set up to be this awesome experimental thing, and I think that that's really where it succeeds. This is an exercise in pacing and cinematography almost more than it is a movie. In that regard, this thing is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was a beautifully, beautifully shot movie. That's what it's going up for at the Oscars, is just how this movie looks, and the movie looks fantastic. It's so horrific and haunting, and I mean, it sticks with you. There are scenes that in this movie that are gonna stick with me, but I mean, they're gorgeous. Ugh. War sucks, man.
Yeah, I really appreciated that they didn't really shy away from how much war sucks, and it really shows you how war happens. Like with the little small details of gaining inches on the front lines and stuff like that, and the trenches and all that. Like, it's so authentic.
Even the concept of this movie and the plot of this movie is so reflective of that, of just any little thing could go wrong and now you have massive amounts of people dead. Because the movie starts out with, here's your mission. It seems very simple. But because we're following these guys, we see how not simple it really is and how many complications there are of just sending one guy to one place or two guys to one place. That's a really fucking good idea for a movie.
The tone of the whole movie was very
Urgency.
very tense. Yeah, very urgent, very tense. Almost as if you're watching like a horror film and you're like expecting something to go bad, something to go wrong, and you're just waiting at the edge of your seat for that thing to happen. I mean, I was incredibly tense the whole time. It was like familiar to how Uncut Gems was, but this was definitely worse.
I mean, this is more visceral, like,
Right.
And it's interesting because, nothing really happens for a long time. It's just a movie of two guys walking. Because you're so tense, it doesn't feel that way. It's even more effective when about half an hour in, things actually do start to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you, like, they wind up going into no man's land, and, like, people, I mean, no one really knows what it's like, and this shows you what it's like, just dead bodies everywhere. Just mud, rotting corpses, and just quiet.
First of all, to plan out how you were going to do any of these shots is... I mean, that's why it just got nominated for the Oscar.
I mean, the amount of planning it had to have taken in preparation, I can only really imagine.
Down to, like, building that dolly track and timing everybody out and having people waiting where they need to be. That's no small feat, but even the set design of No Man's Land specifically, it because it's ugly on purpose, but it's also like fucking gorgeous. Like the attention to details and where the dead bodies are placed,
And not only that,
bugs.
it was huge.
Felt really huge.
It felt huge. How big do you think this space that they're filming in actually is? Because it's just, it's a one shot, so you know it's not the same place over
Right.
and over again. You know, it's just the way that it tracks. It's, you know, it had to be a giant field that they just blew the shit out of.
There are a couple times in a few sequences where you can tell they reused the same land.
In the
But
town, I
you
feel
can
like.
you can spot that only if you're really looking for it. You know, I'm familiar with editing and how it goes, so once you recognize the cut, you can see it. That's, you know, something that is unavoidable when you do an undertaking like this. So even to reuse that same little piece of land and make it look as massive as it was, that's fucking incredible. A lot of people bitching about how the one shot is stitched together. But like really, I can only pinpoint like a couple like that was jarringly two different cuts. And for a 2-hour runtime, that's very impressive for how many balls you were juggling.
It's not even just No Man's Land that feels so huge. Is when he goes into the town.
The bombed out town was
the bombed out
nuts.
town. You think, oh, there's just this house and it's like not much else, but then you see the flares and you just see nothing but ruins of this entire town.
And that sequence is great too because, like you said, it starts small, but
Yeah.
as you're going, you just start to
Exactly.
realize the scale
It's
of
so
everything that's
big,
going
yeah.
on. The direction here is great because how they've picked out when people enter the screen and when they leave is all built to complement how massive the movie is. You'll have people just showing up because there's no way you could map out where these people are. And a lot of the frustration in the movie doesn't even come from him having to deal with the Germans. It comes from
Him having to deal with the British.
dealing with his own guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
That's how it is. I mean, you really don't know who the hell is who. Could easily be a German that speaks fluent English.
I'm not one to like bash on something like Dunkirk, you know, or like Midway, which obviously are two different scales.
Midway.
It's something to be said, like Christopher Nolan I love as a filmmaker, right?
So much.
Dunkirk, to me, was a letdown. I know a lot of people really like the movie, but to me it didn't have the tensity that something like this had.
I really liked Dunkirk. Did I love it? No, but I really liked it.
Right. I enjoyed the movie, but walking out, it was nowhere near the experience that I thought it was going to be. And this movie, to me, is much closer to what I was expecting from that movie.
This is what I was expecting from this movie and a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
I was very excited going into this movie, and you know, in my head I was like, oh, the long panning shots, everything's gonna be looked like to be like it's almost one shot. I was like, all right, that'll be kind of cool. But seeing how well it's done in this movie is just above and beyond for me.
When you go past the technical aspect of that, being the story guy to figure out how the hell you're going to pace 2 hours with one shot
Yeah.
it's incredible. And I've only ever seen one other person do it, and that was Alejandro Inarritu when he made Birdman. Two really different things, but as far as pacing goes, that's like extreme mastery of your material and your script. I have to like respect that because there's really only about 10 minutes, I'd say, in this movie that really lags.
One specific scene early in the movie was gonna be for me. I was like, that's gonna be the best scene of the movie until we get to a later scene where honestly, like it's not even a moment to really, I feel like, get emotionally moved and sad. And that whole scene, like I got very upset.
Because when the movie starts, you're waiting for the gut punch. And what the movie does is it keeps presenting you with moments where you're like, oh, this is it. This is the bottom out. And then it keeps taking it a step worse and a step worse, which is almost how they keep the pacing up, because somehow it does it without being insanely depressing, and I guess that's the adrenaline.
Because he's got a mission and you're rooting for him to complete the mission. You know what I mean? Like, that's where your head is at. You're like, oh my God, he needs to make it. Like, just keep going. Like, you're just wanting him to just keep going.
And because you never stop watching
Yeah.
him, there's not a cut in the movie, so you're also going with
Right.
him. I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a very strong A-. This is no small feat on a technical level and on a pacing level. This is like master level filmmaking. My only complaint would be that at some points you can see the edits, but that's, we're talking about Academy Award level status, so, it's graded on a different scale.
I give it a solid A. There's no doubt about it for me. This is a movie I foresee to own on Blu-ray, and to, if people haven't seen it, to show it to them in a proper display, whether it be on a big screen with like surround sound, my basement basically. This is a movie that I am going to show to people, and I think everyone needs to see it. I'm not going to say it's my favorite movie ever in the world, but it is definitely a very top movie for me.
I am also going to give it an A. I really can't find much flaw in it other than like the fact that like it was very, very tense, and like to where like when we saw Uncut Gems, I really wasn't a fan of it. But here I can almost forgive it in a way because it needed that in order to be interesting. If you didn't have that tensity, you would just be like, all right, this is like a History Channel war movie. The cinematography was beautiful. The simplistic plot, but like the fact that you were like in it with your main character made it very gripping, very enthralling, and I really appreciated that. I walked out and said that I wanted to see it again, but I really liked it. There's not much else to say. It was a really good movie.
There's one cut.
There's a bunch of cuts.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.